Bloopatone.
Hey everyone, this is Eric Keller for Bloopatone. For this video, I'm taking a little bit of a break from the ZBrush interface, and I'm going to answer a question somebody asked me in my last live stream. So I gave a live stream last week. I do every Monday on the Max on ZBrush channel. I do a live stream where I sculpt insects and arthropods or creatures that are inspired by insect biology or invertebrate biology. And during the last session, somebody asked me about my favorite books in my library. And I'm too lazy to write them all out because I have a lot of them. And these are just some of them. So I thought I'd make a video. I can't guarantee that it's going to be very short. Maybe you can watch it on double speed or something. Just to talk about my favorite books, what I have usually near my desk when I'm working on bugs, or that I've read. Some of them are going to be picture books. Some of them are going to be more like textbooks with detailed illustrations. And some of them are just going to be books that are about biology that I think are definitely worth reading, that have inspired me throughout my career, and I highly recommend. So this is going to be a tour through my insect and arachnid biology library. If you have suggestions of your own favorite books, please put them in the comments, because I think everybody would enjoy sharing that information so we can all build wonderful libraries and keep books alive, because books are wonderful. Okay, let's start with my absolute favorite. I'm going to call out the ones that I think are must-haves, and then I'll describe the others as it'd be nice if you could find this, or really inspiration, but you don't need it. But I'm definitely going to talk about the ones that are must-have. So my first must-have book, and my absolute favorite, is Invertebrate Zoology. This is Rupert, Fox, and Barnes. You could probably find a later edition of this book. It's going to be expensive, so you might want to find a used copy. I bought this one new, but I've used it so much over the years that it's falling apart. This is a 7th edition. This is basically a nice look at the history of the evolution of invertebrates and life on Earth. And the thing I love most about it is the information is great. It's very dry, but the illustrations are fantastic. And I always find huge inspiration in these wonderful illustrations. So this is my first must have. It's great for creature designers of all types of invertebrate. If you love making aliens, this book can't beat it. Okay, now let's talk about ants. I wouldn't say this is a must-have, but it is a great book. It actually got Pulitzer Prize. That's what happens. This is Ants by Bert Holdobler and E.O. Wilson. So you're going to see E.O. Wilson's name an awful lot in this video, because he's my favorite author. He was the premier ant and social organism biologist, one of the most important biologists of the 20th century. Some have put him on the same level with Darwin. I was very fortunate that I actually got to work on a project with him many years ago. So this is the ultimate go-to guide for ants. I have a lot of ant books. Some of them are more accessible than others. This is a super nerdy one. And one of the things I love about this book is it's got a great guide with illustrations. It's kind of like a phone book of ant species. So it's got wonderful illustrations, a lot of them done by E.O. Wilson, and great information on biology. Cambrian Explosion. This is a good book, nice one to have, probably expensive. It's very technical. It really gets into the science of the entire Cambrian era, not just the biology, but geology and everything that was going on back then. So it's a very technical book. I wouldn't say it's a must-have, but it's a very nice book to have, and it's very, very dense. But really fantastic illustrations. Okay, here's a great one. Arrival of the Fittest by Andreas Wagner. Really great read, and will probably upend some of your preconceived notions about the biology of evolution. It's not a picture book, it's all text, but it's a good read, and it's very accessible to non-scientists. Always good to have insect guides. The Smithsonian Handbook of Insects by TK Publishing. I have a lot of these. They're just nice to have, especially in the field. Has some brief overview. If you're a casual insect modeler, these things are good to have. Dr. Eleanor's Common Ants in California. I picked this one up because it looked fun. It's a nice read. Got some great illustrations. This is definitely for general public, non-scientist reading. Good stories on ant behavior. So it's a fun one. I wouldn't say it's a must-have, but I'd say it's a good one. Okay, if you could find books like this, How to Know the Spiders. This is a key or more of a deep dive into spider biology. This is great for creature modelers because of the illustrations get very technical based on species, and you get all the bits. I have a few books like these. They're always good to have. Great inspiration for creature modelers. So again, that's How to Know the Spiders. It's a fairly old book. You can probably find a used copy. Here's another guide to ants, not nearly as dense as the E.O. Wilson books. This is Brian Fisher and Stephen P. Cover. And it's got some nice images and great information on species of ants found in North America. Another great guide to have. Here's another field guide to the wildlife of Los Angeles, the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles. I'm not in Los Angeles anymore, but you can find books like this. Check out your local natural history museum. They often publish wonderful books like this that really explain the biodiversity of your local area. And that's a great one if you're living in LA, even if you're not living in LA. Here's Common Dragonflies and Damselflies of the Pacific Coast. Another field guide. This one is by James Walker. So these are great to have if you're out or you've got a picture of a bug, dragonfly or damselfly, and you want to find out what kind it is. I have a lot of these. Here's The Secret Life of Flies by Erica McAllister. This is just a fun read. It's not really a reference book so much. It's more about stories of fly biology. Well, it is a bit of a reference book. Sorry, I take that back. Cool stories. I learned a lot about flies. Did you know that if we didn't have flies, we wouldn't have chocolate? Strange but true. Kingdom of the Ants. This is a great one by E.O. Wilson. And this is a great introductory book to E.O. Wilson's writing and also ant biology. I don't know why I have this, but I have 2 copies of The Insects of Los Angeles Basin. Again, this is from Natural History Museum of Los Angeles. Everyone should have at least 1 copy of The Origin of the Species by Charles Darwin. This is actually his 3 major books in 1 volume with a foreword by, guess who? E.O. Wilson. So this is Voyage of the Beagle, Origin of the Species and Descent of Man, and the Expressions of the Emotions in Man and Animals. The most important one is Origin of the Species. You should always have a copy of that book on your bookshelf in some form. You can get a smaller one than that. The joke that I always like to make is that the one thing that Origin of the Species and the Bible have in common is that the people who have the strongest opinions about those books are the least likely to have actually read them. So there you go. Machinery of Life. This is Cell Biology by David S. Goodsell. It has beautiful illustrations. These are actually watercolor paintings that he's done based on cellular structures and protein structures. Ooh, this is a good one. Secret Weapons. Anyone who is a creature artist should have Secret Weapons. It really gets into, it's a Thomas Eisner book, so he's one of my favorite authors. And it really gets into the understanding of the chemical and other defenses of insects. Don't let the illustrations scare you of chemical structures. It's actually a very easy read for the non-scientist, and it's a fun read too. Really inspiring if you're trying to come up with your next beastie. Here's another picture book, Mini Monsters. I have loads of these. Picture books are always nice to have. I mean, you have the internet as well, but the nice thing about picture books is they're often edited, so you can find good information and the best images. Okay, here is a must-have, at least if you're living in North America. Common Spiders of North America, must-have. A great guide, fantastic illustrations, great explanation of spider species. It doesn't get too far into the weeds and the technical information. It's mostly a field guide, but still the illustrations are excellent and the organization of the book is fantastic. So highly recommend this one. It's by Richard A. Bradley. This is another must-have. If you can get this book or something like it, this is an identification manual, Spiders in North America. For creature modelers, this is another fantastic one because it really gets into the nice illustrations of all the little spider bits, stuff you can't really see in pictures or even through a microscope. This is what scientists use when they're out in the wild trying to identify the spider that they have found. And so it's got great illustrations of the structures. So highly recommend this book. Biology of Spiders. This is a must-have. You can find a version of this online for free as a PDF. Rainer F. Fullux. This is the go-to books on spider biology. And great illustrations, really wonderfully written, great inspiration. Absolute must-have. Gotta have it. Bees by Carl von Frisch. Their vision, chemical sense, and language. I wouldn't say this is a must-have, but it's a great book. Carl von Frisch won the Nobel Prize for decoding the dance of bees. And this one I used a lot when I was working on my bee vision, my insect vision. This one I think is probably close to a must-have. Anything by Carl von Frisch is a good bet. Great writer, great scientist. Dancing of the Bees. This is the story of how he sort of deciphered the bee dance. More about bees. This is A Sting in the Tail by David Goulson. This is kind of nice stories about bumblebees. I wouldn't say it's a must-have, but I'd say it's a good read. And more on terms of good reads. This is E.O. Wilson getting into sort of philosophical stuff. He's written a lot of books on the philosophy of science, philosophy of biology. Those are good reads. So here's another book by him, Leafcutter Ants. This is more technical information about leafcutters. Great photographs. I think some of these are Alex Wild's photographs. Illustrations in biology and so on. Civilization by Instinct. Cool illustrations. So here's another book on bees. And this one is a lot of scanning electron microscope pictures. Great visual reference. Let me see. Okay, here we go. Modelers. It's a great visual reference. And it's a nice book to have. Rosalind Fisher. Oh, this is a fun one. This is Adventures Among the Ants by Mark Moffat, who's a very entertaining writer and a wonderful scientist. And forward by who? E.O. Wilson. It's a great, lots of great stories about running through the jungle looking for ants. That's a fun one. This is a good one for young readers. Okay, another philosophy book, a great one by E.O. Wilson, Half Earth. This is more about conservation and that kind of biology, so it is more of a read than a reference. This is a great reference, Arachnid by Jan Beccaloni. There's not enough books on arachnids, so anyone that you can find is usually good. And this is great pictures and great writing. Okay, this one is a technical read, but a really entertaining one. Honeybee Democracy. This is basically the psychology of honeybees. This is essentially how do honeybees decide where to put their nest when their nests split up and divide. It's a really amazing technical book on the psychology of social insects. I wouldn't say it's a must-have because it is, again, very dense and technical, but it's a good read. Forward by Edward Wilson. On the Wing, this is a nice one on the biology of flight in vertebrates and invertebrates and non-vertebrates. So good illustrations, good discussion for creature modelers everywhere and animators. One of my favorite books on bees, Bees in Your Backyard by Joseph Wilson and Olivia Messenger Carroll. Great guide, great writing, great photographs. I would say this is a must-have. Definitely. There's so much, it's just so packed with information. And it's also, again, it's a pleasant read. It's not overly technical or esoteric. Dragonfly Genera of the New World. Rosser M. You can read those. This is another book I got used, but it's really excellent for the illustrations. Technical information, good for all kinds of insect and creature modelers and animators. Okay, now we're going to go to the super nerdy. I would not say this is a must-have because this is going to be too nerdy for most people, but another one by E.O. Wilson and Bert Holdobler, The Superorganism. This is the definitive text on social organisms, bees and wasps. It's very technical, it's very dry, but it's really good. And as you can see, I use it all the time as a reference. So I wouldn't say it's a must-have, but I would say it's a really good one to have. Here's a must-have. Again, another one by Thomas Eisner, For Love of Insects. This was a huge inspiration behind Entomology Animated. This one has a lot of great information, great photographs. It's also an entertaining read if you really want to get into the cool biology of insects and their behaviors and their defenses and so on. So, one of my faves. Here's another picture book, Natural World Close Up by Giles Sparrow. Scanning electron microscope images. So these books are always nice to have for inspiration. They're not super informative, but they're great visual guide. And this is just kind of a nice, sort of a coffee table book. Here's a non-coffee table book, Exploring Biomechanics, Animals in Motion by McNeil Alexander, R. McNeil Alexander. This one's very technical. It's got a lot of physics in it, but it's a great, especially for animators. I would say this is a must-have for animators. It's really, really cool reference. This is Journey to the Ants. This is a book is kind of like distilled some of the more technical books like the Superorganism and Ants into a much more readable, general audience friendly book. So if you don't want to get those big tomes that I was showing earlier, this is a nice alternative. But it's got great information, a great illustration, all on ants, and of course another great one by E.O. Wilson. Oh, this is a wonderful book, Silent Sparks. This is on the biology of fireflies by Sarah Lewis. This one is a really good read and very informative. It has some technical information and then just some stuff that's enjoyable to read. She's a wonderful writer. It's more of a sort of a poetic book as textbooks go. This one is a great one to read with the young ones if they're curious about biology, about fireflies. There's fireflies all over. Here is Dragonflies and Damselflies of Texas by my friend John Abbott. And this is a field guide, but it's also got, it's fairly technical, but it's got some good, wonderful photographs that he did himself. This is for identifying various species. This is a really fun one. I would say this is a must-have. Evolution's Witness, How Eyes Evolved. My favorite book on evolution because it focuses just on eyes. So eyes have evolved many times over the history of life on Earth, and this gets into how they are similar, how they are different, how they arose, where they came from. It's a really fantastic read, and it was a huge inspiration for my my animated series on insect vision. But it's got all kinds of animals in it, not just bugs. The Vertebrate Body, Romer and Parsons, 6th edition. This is an old textbook. You can find it online. It's a good one. Lots of great illustrations. This is my favorite book of all time, I think, for nonfiction. Song of the Dodo by David Quammen. I can't really describe it. It's just a deep dive into the history of evolutionary biology, as well as biology itself, written in an extremely entertaining and informative way. Highly recommend it. I found it very emotional. Like I say, it's one of my favorite books. Very inspiring. How Not to Be Eaten. How Insects Fight Back by Gilbert Wildbauer. Wildbauer, great name. It's not really a picture book, more of a text, but entertaining read, and also again really inspiring for creature designers on strategies that insects use to not be eaten. Here's one that's not about bugs at all, but for the dinosaur nerds, A Field Guide to Mesozoic Birds and Other Winged Dinosaurs. This is a really entertaining book. It's a good one for young readers. Great diagrams for the dinosaur enthusiasts out there and also the bird enthusiasts. Highly recommend it. Awesome book. Here's a must read. Your Inner Fish by Neil Shubin. This is the story of his discovery of Tiktaalik. It's a great book for understanding how science actually works in the real world, outside of, the idealized version of Star Trek and that kind of stuff. So, and then of course, Neil Shubin's one of the most important scientists of our times, so I highly recommend it. There's also a movie based on this book. I guess I should mention Richard Dawkins' Selfish Gene. This one is a classic, Dynamics of Dinosaurs and Other Extinct Giants by R. McNeil Alexander. Again, physics-based approach to dinosaur biology. No bugs, but cool stuff. And then The Lost Species. So this is an exploration of species that have been lost within collections in natural history museums. I think it's a pretty good book. It's entertaining. Here's a must-have. getting back to picture books. Hidden Kingdom, Peter Niskrecki. He's a wonderful scientist and a great photographer, and this book has really excellent pictures. So he has a wonderful website too. So I highly recommend getting this. It's a really wonderful book, and he actually worked at Harvard with E.O. Wilson, so forward by E.O. Wilson, and I've taken a few photography workshops from him, and he's wonderful. So that's definitely a must-have. Here's an example of a nice sort of graduate level entomology book. I'm not a graduate student, but I still have this book. These are expensive, but they're good to have. They're a great reference. See if you can find them used, but they definitely get into the weeds of insect biology. Dry reading, but a great reference. Here's a book on fire ants by Walter Schinkel. I used this one as my primary reference for my Solenopsis invicta animation that I did many years ago. It's a whole book just on fire ants. And so I wouldn't say this is a must-have unless you're really into fire ants and ant biology. This one is very technical, a lot of charts and stuff, but interesting. Here's a nice one to have. Bees. It's a picture book. Lots of wonderful pictures of bees, and a good guide to bee biology beyond honeybee and diversity of bees. Very inspiring. Nice one to have. You can find it. I'm sure you can find that one. Let's see. Here is one on flies. This one, believe it or not, has some really funny parts to it, but you have to read through some of this dense material to get to it. I guess fly biologists have their own sense of humor. It's a guide to fly by diversity of flies, and as you can see, flies are very diverse, and it's a good reference to have. Is it a must-have? I don't know if it's a must-have unless you're really hardcore. Stephen A. Marshall. Here's a nice overview of evolution. It's got kind of a cool timeline on the bottom and great illustrations. This is Evolution, the Story of Life by Douglas Palmer, illustration by Peter Barrett. So that's a nice one to have. And here is an old textbook on vertebrate structure, analysis of vertebrate structure by Hildebrandt. So this is kind of a classic textbook. I bought this one used. Great illustrations. This is obviously vertebrates, not invertebrates, but I think a great one to have for all creature modelers and animators too. This is Buzz. This is just a nice picture book. This is a lot of scanning electron microscope and nice photography. It's a fun book to have. Another inspiring one for modelers. Another good picture book, Bugs in Close Up. This one has excellent photography. This is a great reference for modelers. Somewhat light on information relative to the other books that I have, but great pictures. Close up. Okay, here is Smaller Majority by Peter Niskrecki. This is another great one with absolutely fantastic photography of a wide variety of wildlife, great explanations. Peter Niskrecki is actually a katydid expert, and also bats. So that's a great one to have. Another dense textbook on animal physiology by Knut Schmidt-Nielsen. This one is very dense, but very good. And again, lots of graphs and chemical structures, but it's a great one. It's just like a graduate level textbook, but a really good one. Bumblebees of North America, Identification Guide. I love bumblebees, but it's another field guide. And those are always good to have. And here's another book on whip spiders or amblypygid. Great illustrations and photographs. Whoops. This is Peter Weigel. Whip spiders. Good one. Oh, this one. I would say a must-have for any creature, modeler, animator, artist. Animal Weapons by Douglas J. Emian. This is not a picture. I mean, it's got some pictures in it, some illustrations, but the text is invaluable for reading how evolution. He basically compares the evolution of animal weaponry with the evolution of human weaponry. Not that humans aren't animals, but it's a really good read. It's a fun book to read. It's great because the scientist was like, he's studying biology, but he also studied human history of weaponry as a hobby. And somebody suggested, why don't you put those two things into one book? And he did, and it's a great book. This one, super nerdy, Invention and Evolution. So I pick this one up every once in a while to read, but it's another dense one. Michael French, Invention and Evolution. I do love this one very much. The Bee, Natural History. I love bees, so this one again. It's a great reference to have, but also a good read, entertaining read in the history of humans and bees and how we sort of evolved together. Another picture book, Up Close Bugs. Again, title pretty much explains the entire book. It's a lot of photographs of bugs up close. Biology, the Honeybee. This is a must-have. Mark L. Winston. A good overview, kind of along the lines of similar to Carl von Frisch's stuff, but a great textbook on overall biology of honeybees. That's what the title is, and that's what it is. Another one by E.O. Wilson. The Meaning of Human Existence. The guy gets really deep for somebody who studies ants his whole life, but these are good reads. But again, that's more of a philosophical. Art and Architecture of Insects. Another great one for SEM, Scanning Electron Microscope. Sorry. There we go. David M. Phillips. And this is a good one to have handy for when you're modeling and you want to get some inspiration. If you like making up your own bugs, these are always fun to go through. And guess who? It's E.O. Wilson. This, again, a really good read. This is, again, more about the history of diversity of life. His experiences as a scientist, the importance of biodiversity, sort of a mixture of biology and philosophy in one book, but I think it's a really good read. It will definitely get you inspired to try and do something about preserving biodiversity. And oh, look at this. Nice, big, thick insect of their natural history and diversity by Stephen A. Marshall. So this is another thick overview of insect biology. Is it a must-have? I don't know, but it's probably expensive. Probably find a used copy of it online. Another book on whip spiders and Blipigid. This is a breed. People make a hobby out of breeding these terrifying arachnids. They're harmless, by the way. I love them. I think they're wonderful because they're so scary looking, but they're actually quite docile. You probably remember them from Harry Potter. And I modeled one based on this, as well as a pinned molt that I had. Here's a great one on butterflies and moths. Illustrated World Encyclopedia. A great reference for biology of butterflies, but also identification and great images of their wing patterns. Always nice to have little guides to insects nearby. So I have a bunch of these. They're light on information, but some nice pictures. This one is one that I read sometimes. I need to read the whole thing. This is more about microbial life at small scale, but it's an excellent text. My friend Gail McGill recommended to me. David B. Dusenberry. Here is a very dense book by E.O. Wilson on sociobiology. This is sort of he basically developed a branch of biology called sociobiology based on his research of social insects such as ants. And this is a very dense, very academic. I would not say this is a must read because this is another sort of hardcore book. I've read some of it and it's real dense. Here's a great one. My favorite author, David Quammen, Tangled Tree He's my favorite science writer of all the science writers. There's a nice take on the history of life. Here is a super nerdy, very dense, physics-based approach to biology and evolution. And this is usually mostly above my head. It's got a lot of diagrams and equations and graphs and very, very physics-based. But it's cool. It's very inspiring, even if you only understand half of it, which I'm lucky if I understand half of it. It still has a lot of great ideas. Here is A Tangled Bank by Carl Zimmer, a really excellent introduction to evolutionary biology. Great illustrations, great text. It's an entertaining read, I think. So that's a good one. There's another one by Tom Eisner. This is Eisner's World. This is his photography. Evolution, a visual record. There's another Phaidon book. So these are kind of like a coffee table book, but a nice reference and fantastic photographs, and inspiring. Not as dense as some of the other ones, but yeah, I think I would classify it as kind of like a coffee table book. So a good one to open up when you're working on ZBrush and you want some inspiration for future stuff. Relics, another one from Peter Nesgrecki. This is another fantastic, anything he does is going to have amazing photography in it. Just the best stuff. Yeah, amazing photography. So I always recommend his books, and he's a great writer too. Another graduate level textbook, Insect Structure and Function by R.F. Chapman. Again, I would pick this up used. Very, very dense. Great illustrations if you're getting into insect physiology. Another book on fire ants by Stephen Welton Tabor. And this one, again, I used as a reference for my animation on fire ants. It's dense. I wouldn't say it's a must-have. And it's only a must-have if you're really getting into fire ants, specifically fire ants. The last one that I'm going to show is Edward O. Wilson's Letter to a Young Scientist. Great one for young readers. To inspire them to get into science. Okay, so there you have it. There's kind of a brief tour, not really brief for the internet, but there is a tour of some of my favorite books in my library. I probably have more hidden around in the various bookshelves of my house, but I think that's a good one to give you some inspiration of some stuff to look up in case you want to build out your library and you kind of see the things that inspired me. I do recommend, if you have your own favorite books that you think people should know about, put it in the comments, like and subscribe. And next time we're going to take a look at ZBrush again. Got some exciting new things happening, so I want to show those off in some upcoming videos. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.
Bloopatone.